Hello guys, welcome to my part 4 of The Mother Who Quieted the Storm. Hi, I hope you read part 1 and part 2 of The Mother Who Quieted the Storm. I'm about to read to you guys part 4. Now if you didn't watch part 1 and part 2, then when I read part 3 to you, it won't make any sense, so make sure you watch part 1 and part 2 of this story, The Mother Who Quieted the Storm, just to get a feel of what's happening. I read the beginning of it, and the first part was about Evelyn and her son watching television, and she shows her son that she just got through chasing down a runaway suspect on the freeway. And then the second chapter was about Evelyn's nightmare she had, where she was fighting some evil creature who was trying to hurt her husband in her living room. And the third chapter was about an alien father and mother who was discussing with a government agent that they didn't want to kill any more humans anymore. So that's just to bring you up to date on what part 1 and part 2 is about. So be sure to watch those 2 videos. But right now, I'm going to read part 3, which is chapter 4 of The Mother Who Quieted the Storm. And like I said, this story is 23 chapters long. It's a sci-fi horror story. So here's chapter 4, and I hope you enjoy it. You ready? Here we go. Alexei adjusted the seatbelt on his booster seat as he listened to the purring 6.0-liter V8 engine of his mother's Escalade. The child looked around at his mom, who was lightly mouthing the lyrics and nodding her head to the hypnotic beat of a Macklemore tune. The subwoofer and the 10-speaker surround sound system inside the cabin made the rap song sound so good and clear that if Alexei closed his eyes and just listened, he would think that Macklemore and Ryan Lewis were physically sitting in the back seat giving him and his mother a live performance. Evelyn spoke to her car's aftermarket onboard computer, telling the computer to turn off the cruise control. The computer, known as Nebula, turned off the cruise control as she was told. Evelyn glanced over the driver's seat at the navigation screen on the dashboard, reading the time and the car's climate control temperature, after also telling the computer to turn down the volume on the radio. Evelyn was a little nervous about letting her car drive itself, but the woman wanted to be with her child in the back seat. "Sorry, baby," Evelyn said, turning to look at her son and running her fingers through his soft curly hair. "If your mama had only known that the car was low on fuel." Alexei reached up to take hold of his mother's hand. The child directed his attention back and forth between playing his Spider-Man video game on his little smartphone and watching Transformers: Dark of the Moon that was being played through the rear entertainment system in his mother's car. "I couldn't take you to school in Daddy's car, but I promise that I'm going to pick you up in it. After I drop you off at school, I'm going to run by the auto store to get some distilled water so I can fill up that tank," Evelyn told her child. She took her eyes off her son, putting her attention back on the road when she felt the front tire of her SUV run over a pothole. "Damn, they need to repave this road. I should have drove myself because the computer can't decipher where potholes are in the road," the woman murmured in disgust, wanting to be close to her child, but feeling uncomfortable about letting a computer that her husband installed into her Escalade drive her son to school. Evelyn was hoping that her child was comfortable in the new booster seat that she bought him. Alexei kept rubbing his mother's hand, looking back down at his smartphone. "Oh no," the child mumbled in frustration when the villain he was fighting in his downloaded game ended up getting the best of him. "I lost. The Green Goblin got me." Alexei frowned, looking over at his mother. Evelyn laughed. "How did the Green Goblin get you, Spider-Man? Spider-Man never gets beat by the Green Goblin." Alexei let out a laugh when his mother started tickling him. The child stopped suddenly, almost dropping his phone, when he felt a sharp pain in his foot. He then reached down to touch it. "You all right, sweetie?" Evelyn also leaned over to check the bottom of her child's foot after watching him pull off his sneaker. The woman reached down, caressing the heel of her child's foot, not even noticing that her car was sitting at a green traffic light. An impatient motorist laid on her car horn behind Evelyn, forcing her to look up to see the green light. "Okay, asswipe, I'm not the one driving. I should have drove myself." "Nebula, the light is green. Let's go. I don't want my baby to be late for school." Evelyn spoke firmly to the onboard computer. She became more annoyed by the woman motorist who was still blowing her horn behind the wheel of a black Prius. "These people get so impatient behind the wheel," Evelyn grumbled, wishing that the computer would press down on the accelerator and speed up her car, after looking into the rearview mirror to see that the irritating motorist was trying to pass her on the left side. "How's your foot, baby?" Evelyn asked. She went back to caring for her child after watching the woman motorist turn down a side street. Alexei winced, touching the cut on the bottom of his foot. "The Band-Aid is coming off," the child said, watching as Evelyn gently pressed her finger against the Band-Aid, trying to keep the minor cut on her son's foot concealed. "I don't know if your mommy was sleepwalking last night, because I don't understand how that living room lamp got broke." Evelyn kept caressing her child's foot, which had gotten cut by a tiny broken piece of porcelain. What scared Evelyn is that the tiny piece of porcelain that her child accidentally stepped on in the living room came from a broken lamp that had mysteriously disappeared from her house. "Honey, when we were sleeping last night, did I get up from the bed at all? I mean, did you hear me get up to use the bathroom or anything? Can you remember?" Evelyn asked her child, with her mind still trying to figure out how her living room lamp could have gotten broken. "I don't remember you moving because I had my arm around you," Alexei told his mother. He could see the worry in her face grow with every breath that she took. "Your mommy is either a sleepwalker or there's a ghost in our house. I don't understand how that lamp got broke and why it's missing from my living room." "Daddy broke the lamp and Layla cleaned it up." Alexei tried to come up with an explanation for the missing electrical device. "I think Daddy broke it and Layla didn't want us to find it, so she cleaned up after Daddy." Evelyn felt spooked, listening to her child's paranormal explanation. "Well, if your daddy broke that lamp and your sister cleaned it up last night, then she didn't do a good job at cleaning it up, because there's a cut on the bottom of my baby's foot, Layla. You hear me, Layla? This is your mother talking to you. We know that your daddy broke that lamp last night. Marianne, I know you broke that lamp." Alexei started snickering, watching his mother pretend to be talking to the ghost of his sister and father. "They're probably riding in the car with us, we just can't see them," Evelyn whispered, continuing to joke with her child, trying not to keep her disturbed mind at ease. A nature-fueled rumble coming from outside sent a thunderous shock throughout the car, causing the car to swerve a little as it made a right turn at an intersection. "It's about to rain?" Evelyn looked in disbelief through her rear window at the ominous bluish-gray nimbus clouds that looked like a giant lake of smoke floating across the sky. The sun became buried under the dark, stormy overcast like a massive burning flame that had been snuffed out. "I can't believe it's about to rain out here. The weatherman said it was going to be a clear, sunny day." Evelyn looked up at the sky. She watched Nebula turn on her car's rain-sensing wiper blades when a couple of raindrops started to fall on the windshield. "Can you believe this, Boo? Mommy thought it was going to be some nice weather today." Evelyn shook her head, watching the glass of her windshield get drenched in rainwater. "Daddy told me that when it rains, it means that God is taking a shower," Alexei said, studying the little droplets of rain that were on the outside of his rear passenger side window. He put his little finger up to the glass, feeling the cool temperature of the rainwater. "Why is God taking a shower today? Can't he wait till tomorrow?" Evelyn giggled, looking around at Alexei. She struggled to see through her windshield, feeling like her hybrid luxury SUV was going through a celestial car wash. "How do you feel you're going to do on your math test today?" Evelyn asked, stroking her child's cheek and trying to get her frustrated mind off the bad Chicago weather that her car was confronting on the road. Alexei took a deep breath, nervously twiddling his pinky finger around one of the straps of his backpack when he heard his mother say math test. "I hate math," the child murmured, I wish you could come to school with me and help me take the test. Evelyn poked out her bottom lip, giving her child a sympathetic stare. I know how you feel, Precious. I couldn't stand math at first when I was in school, but once I started to get the hang of it, it started to become a little more fun to me. I said a little. Alexei looked around at his mother, hoping that math would one day become more fun for him. Evelyn tried not to laugh while staring at the sad, puppy dog look on Alexei's face. Don't worry, Boo-Boo. You're going to ace that math test. I know you will. Just remember what I told you about word problems. The key to figuring out a word problem is to first find out what? Evelyn quizzed her child to see if he remembered what she told him. Alexei sighed, not wanting to be quizzed by his mother at the moment, but he knew that his mother just wanted him to do the best he could on the test. You had to find out what type of word problem it is before solving it, Alexei moaned. Evelyn nodded at her child's answer. That's right. So that means a word problem that has the words less than in it means that it's what type of word problem? Alexei played with his mother's hand as he thought up the answer. A word problem with the words less than in it means that it's a subtraction word problem. Evelyn smiled. She leaned over to give her child a kiss on the forehead. You're a smart cookie. You're going to pass that test. I know you will. You just remember what we went over together and remember what I told you. Don't think that you're going to do good on the test. No, you will. Alexei smiled at his mother, encouraging words. The child stopped nervously fiddling with the straps of his backpack. He went back to counting the raindrops on his window, but his rain count became interrupted by the loud hip-hop ringtone of his mother's phone. Uh-oh, somebody's calling Mommy. Evelyn stopped caressing her child's face, digging her hand into her black leather purse and pulling out her phone. She pulled out her phone, staring down at the unfamiliar number that was being displayed across the touch screen. Who's this calling me? Evelyn mumbled, looking down at the unknown phone number. It's a wrong number. Whoever this is, I'll just tell them that they called the wrong number, Evelyn told her child before hitting the talk button and putting the phone up to her ear. Hello? Evelyn waited for an answer on the other end of her phone, but she heard nothing but a dead silence for a response. Hello? Evelyn said again, this time with a slight stern inflection in her voice. You have the wrong number, Evelyn told the caller coldly. She was about to take her phone away from her ear to hang up, but her hand brought the phone back up to her ear when she heard a woman's voice suddenly emerge out of the silence. I have the wrong number? Are you sure? The woman's voice was low and gritty. There was a hissing noise that came behind the stranger's words, which made Evelyn feel like she was listening to someone who was half human and half reptilian. Are you taking your son to school? I think it's so sweet for a mother to drive her child to school every day. Don't you think it's sweet, Evelyn? Evelyn's hand trembled slightly while holding her phone when she heard the woman say her name and what she was doing, as if there was a camera in her car. How do you know I'm taking my child to school? And how do you know my name? Who is this? Evelyn waited for an answer while listening to the woman on the other end take in an unnatural deep breath. You're a woman that likes to question things. That's why you ask questions instead of hanging up the phone. Who is this? Evelyn raised her voice, annoyed by the woman. See what I'm talking about? Another question. The woman let out a deep, cackling, guttural laugh that was so loud over the phone that it caused Evelyn to take the phone away from her ear and also sent chills down her child's spine when he heard it. What was that? Alexei asked. It's nothing, sweetie. Evelyn gently rubbed her child across her knee, not wanting him to be startled by the woman on the phone. I don't know who this is and how you know my name, but I'm hanging up now. Don't call me again, Evelyn told the woman before taking the phone away from her ear and hanging up. Who was that, Mommy? Alexei rubbed his mother on the arm, seeing that she was upset about the phone call. It was nobody, sweetie. Someone just dialed the wrong number. I'll just block the number if they try to call. Evelyn stopped talking when her son's smartphone started ringing. Alexei picked up his phone. I think it's Grandma. The child was about to answer his phone, but paused when he looked down at his phone, not recognizing the phone number. The child screamed when a loud grumbling voice of a woman suddenly pierced through the speaker on his phone. The woman's voice not only penetrated through Alexi's phone, but through the car's Bluetooth intercom speaker and the 10 speakers that surrounded Evelyn and Alexi. "No, my little angel, this isn't your grandma calling you." Evelyn panicked, listening to the sharp, shouting, evil voice of the woman she had just hung up on. Evelyn was horrified that not only this person controlling the loudspeaker on her child's phone, but she was shouting through the car speakers and had somehow activated the SUV's wireless Bluetooth system and the computer. Even the movie playing through the entertainment system was interrupted. "Mommy," Alexi shouted in fright, watching his mother's car veer over to the left side of the road, almost sideswiping an oncoming car. "Your son is so beautiful. I can see him there sitting next to you," the woman's voice passed through the car's sound system. The Cadillac was now being controlled by the woman, and Evelyn watched as her steering wheel was rapidly twisting back and forth, causing the Escalade to veer into oncoming traffic. Thinking that her car had been taken over by the woman's voice and that it was wired with microphones and cameras, Evelyn unfastened her seatbelt in a panic, crawling out of the back seat and jumping into the front seat, grabbing the steering wheel. Evelyn turned off the computer, which was being controlled now by the woman. She put her hands on the steering wheel, regaining control of her vehicle and pulling her SUV over to the side of the street. After bringing her car to a complete stop, Evelyn reached into the back seat, grabbing her son after unfastening him from his booster seat. She pulled him across the center console into her arms, hopping out of her Escalade and leaving her driver's side door wide open. "I'm not going to hurt your child," the woman shouted. A shocked and confused Evelyn stood on the sidewalk at a safe distance from her SUV, holding her son with the rainwater pouring down on her. "I just want my son back," the woman continued to shout at the top of her lungs through the Cadillac speaker system. "I want my Stellaris back. You didn't have to write